And welcome back to Online Darts. Here we are at the target fishing with the stars. Macier's Chris Mason. Chris, great morning.
Yeah, it's gone very well for me so far. We're in a totally different fishery to the normal waters we would fish in, quite a commercial water with a lot of big fish in, which are very hard to catch. This one is it's great for everybody. Everybody's been catching fish. Everybody's been enjoying it. Even all the first timers that come along that have probably never fished before are having a good day. And it's my 7th year, and I just love doing it. It's for a great cause as well.
It's been a while since we sat down face to face, 3 months in Zoom as it was back in the day. But darts is obviously now back. We can now mingle. Thoughts on how the match play was and in relation to the standard and everything that went with it?
Yeah, first of all, credit to Sky. I thought they produced it fantastically. I thought the way that whoever was the director directed it beautifully. You didn't see any sort of shots of, we watched the football and you see that expansive shot of empty seats. You didn't get that feel when you were watching at home, and I thought it was a brilliant tournament and another new major senior winner in Dimitri, which is always lovely to see. He's a lovely young man. We all love his company, and he's a breath of fresh air when he's playing well. And it's nice to see him play well throughout a whole tournament, because we know he's got the ability. When he won the World Youths, he didn't average under 100 in the TV final stages. So we know he's talented, and he's crossed that line. And very much like Michael Smith, another one, once they cross that line, who knows, the world's their oyster.
They threw up a lot of questions as well over players' form. We'll start at the top. Were you concerned about the way MVG came back after lockdown?
Yeah, it didn't look like he'd put in a lot of work. Didn't have a lot of fight there. We can't keep going on about the fact that he's with a new manufacturer, because we've seen him play well with those darts. So, although these were a different set, I think. They look slightly different anyway. No, I think the nature of Michael, we know at his very best he's pretty much untouchable. There's only probably a handful of players that can sort of play to a level that he can. But that was a well below par performance. But it can be expected. It was a brand new environment. These players are not used to playing in that environment. A lot of must have been quite nerve-wracking with the travel. And of course, people have got loved ones. Everyone's concerned about everybody because of, this virus. But yeah, if it continues, then it would be concerned. But I expect him to bounce back very, very quickly.
What's been announced? Obviously, we'll start with the World Series picks. I can tell by your face expression it's going to be interesting. Surprised with the invites that were handed out?
I was surprised of the omission of Glenn Durrant, which he's now obviously with Carl Anderson.
But to start with, he wasn't in.
No, he wasn't in, and that was bizarre. You know me, I don't question their choices, because the PDC do everything right. It's a £10+ million a year tour. They know what they're doing. They continue to refresh the game. I was surprised at the picks, because on what merit were they there? I understand the global audiences and everything else, but how, do they continue doing that just to appease the broadcasters? Yes, because they're the ones that pay the money. We want to see the best players around, the best foreign players around, and it's a lot of it's all about the action. It's like Mark Williams is there, and we're just having a joke about it. It's all about
no Ratajski either.
No Ratajski, which is another one. I think he's a fabulous player. I think he's great TV. He plays at a really high level when he's on his game. He's an international player, of course, which is the whole concept of the PDC, global reach and everything else. But yeah, it was quite surprising. Still going to be enjoyable. Ian White actually getting in, which is nice, it makes a change, which is see him actually be invited to an invitation event, and I think he deserves it as well. He's one of the sports elite and should get those picks, but for some reason he doesn't. I told him he's got to start dancing more.
You're trying to say it's all about commercial value? No, as well, looking on, we've got an autumn series in Hildesheim. Speaking to a lot of players, there's a lot of the English or UK-based players, there's concerns, and some of them are genuinely thinking about not travelling. Are you surprised that they took it abroad?
No, because ultimately the PDC is a business, Matchroom is a business. They've got to generate income, and even if it's 500 people, it's still 500 bums on seats and ticket sales. Considering the logistics of it being there, absolutely, that doesn't make any sense. There obviously is reasoning behind it, but there's some players that are going to have to endure up to a 10-hour and coming from the UK, you could drive there quicker. But it is what it is, and it is what it isn't. It's just that the players have just got to put up with it sometimes, and you can pick and choose. The elite can pick and choose. I feel sorry for those that are further down the rankings that almost play on the breadline. They're waiting to break through, and if they can't afford to not go, but ultimately it's a big investment to go, and it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be seriously expensive to attend.
We were spoken to Mac, and he said it's pretty much £1,000
per head.
Per head.
Yeah, and you're not guaranteed to win a game, and it's no good to more. Then if it's what's Barry's favourite thing, about mediocrity and all that. It's not that way. Sport is not that way. You can get 4 horrendous draws. Just get a bit of bad luck here and there, and you've travelled all that way for nothing. And again, is it worth it to the players, not to the elite? For me, no. But as we know, the elite players get treated differently to the ones that are sort of ranked from 32 down.
A lot of talk at the moment. I'm going to play worst case scenario here. That we can't have any fans in for the rest of the year. Now, we've already seen that in Austria they can have up to 5,000 indoors.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, does the World Championships leave the UK for a year?
I don't think they could afford to do it without fans. I don't think it would make. I know they've got a lot of money. Eddie has spoken about in the boxing and of course the snooker, how they prepare. You can't prepare for what's happened, but they do have that
contingency for a rainy day.
For contingency, they have a budget. They've made a lot of money for a reason, because they're brilliant at what they do, and they've had to dip into the coffers that have probably been sat there, probably to be reinvested. In other events or new events and other ideas. I don't think you could do the World Championships with no fans. I think it's totally different. I think the snooker was okay. I think the final was better because we had fans. But darts is so much more to do with the crowd. You only got to see the way it's shot. The crowd are in every other shot, in between the players throwing. You've got that crowd reaction. You've got player reacting to the crowd, and I think it's imperative for darts, especially for your premier events, to have a crowd. And of course the finances. You've got to think about the money. It's not an endless pot. It will eventually run out.
So could you see Barry taking the world to Austria?
Yeah, absolutely. If he had to, I don't think they could put an event on that size with the money involved and the commercial partners without taking it abroad. I don't see how it. Well, it just doesn't financially add up. And Barry's an accountant first and foremost. He knows about numbers, and I'd be amazed. Well, was it 17 days?
Yeah.
They get around about 7,000, 8,000 through the door every day.
3.5 a session.
3.5 to 4,000 a session. All the other commercial aspects of it, the fans' village. Would Sky want to do an event of that size without the crowd? I couldn't see it. And why not take it abroad? It would be one-off. It's like the boxing in the garden. I thought it was revolutionary. It's worked. It was good TV, and I'm pretty sure next summer Eddie will bring that back.
I've already said the fight camp's now a yearly event.
Yeah, absolutely. In the summer, it was unique. I'd like to see a later starting time, so it's dark, so you can see London lit up in the background. But considering how quickly it was arranged, and like I say, it's extraordinary circumstances, I thought, sport needs it. It's like the snooker being back. Joe Public at home, the armchair fan, and they need sport. We need sport. It's what sort of keeps us going.
Over lockdown involved a lot of online darts as well. Were you surprised?
We did a little bit, didn't we?
Just a little bit. Were you surprised at how good the standard was?
Yeah, and the players that I didn't really know a lot about, like young Jared Cole, for example, David Evans. Obviously I did the Eurosport coverage on the BDO Worlds, but he didn't perform at that level, and a lot of players have grown. Fallon Sherrock. She's mixing with a really high level and more than holding her own. And so did a lot of the other young players. Jared Cole, as I've said, I thought he was. Keelan Kay, Aaron Munkett in 9 darters and massive averages. Andy Jenkins threw some absolutely incredible stuff. And then we had Martin Adams, who was just 64 years of age. And honestly, I could practice for a year and I wouldn't get anywhere near him. He was absolutely outstanding. Hitting a 9 darter the day before his 64th birthday. It's ridiculous. 9 darters are still hard to. I don't care how big they make the trebles and the doubles. It's still hard to do. And it was nice. It was filmed for him as well, because I believe that's the first one filmed.
lady series announced
Great.
by the. Is
Funny,
it,
I've been screaming about that from the rooftops for about 2 years and was constantly told no, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom.
Is this the start of
I hope so.
something?
I hope so. What, women don't get a fair crack in sport. You know, the big football, even football, at least they get some exposure. It's covered by television. There's money in it. Not for women's darts. There's nothing for them. And why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't we have professional women dart players? You know, obviously I understand about the argument of strength and depth, but you've got to start from somewhere. You know, and women. I've always said this: women are 40 or 50 years behind men in terms of those type of sports, indoor sports. Women weren't allowed in pubs and clubs. You know, they weren't allowed to play darts. But you know, the world's changed and continues to change. And it's like women's snooker. I like watching women's sport. Women's boxing, especially now, is, you know. And if you'd have said to me, you know, I grew up around Jane Couch. You know, she originally from Fleetwood, but you know, trained in Bristol. Used to see her about a lot. You know, and she was a trailblazer. But now you've got people like Terry Harper and Natasha Jones come back for that great draw after a defeat. Katie Taylor, who's elite. I don't care whether it's male, female, or both. She's an elite operator. She boxes beautifully. So yeah, why not? Why not give the women a chance and give them? Don't say like you got 5 minutes to try and, you know, turn it around. I think there's a place commercially for women's darts. You know, you only got to look at advertising on TV. It's predominantly directed towards women. So there's advertisers there. There's potential big sponsors there. And it's different. You know, it's different. They can do something innovative with it, and I'm excited, really excited. I'm pleased that they've eventually stepped in and going to give them something for their, you know, reward them for their hard work, because we know how hard some of the ladies work.
Nice carrot as well with a Grand Slam spot on.
We love seeing.
Offer.
I mean, you know, when we've had women in it before, you know, a woman beating a man isn't a new thing, of course, because Anastasia did it to Vincent to Vincent in the Grand Slam back in 07, 08, somewhere around there. Yeah, and it's a great opportunity for them, great exposure, and great for our sport. You know, Barry always says, listen, the PDC is open. It's not, you know, it's not a men's or a ladies. It's open to everybody. And as we've seen what can happen, look what Fallon did at the Worlds.
Hold my coat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Talking of Fallon, look, we've seen up close that everyone said she couldn't do it without a crowd. She couldn't do it. No.
Well, I was the one that said that, you know, it is her fourth start. You know, like the 12th man.
Yeah.
Was I surprised at what she did in the Modus League? No, not at all, because we've seen, you know, we've been to enough exhibitions where she's played, and we know she can play. And for me, her and Lisa Ashton and possibly Mercurio, I mean, they can go up other levels.
Do you see one of those three not winning the ladies series?
No, and no disrespect to the other ladies, but you know, Lisa won a tour card, you know, never been done before. You know, you've got Suzuki winning world titles, and again in exhibitions we've seen what kind of darts she can produce, and then we've seen the last 4 or 5 months what Fallon Sherritt can produce in terms of averages, 100+ averages, huge finishes. You know, running Phil Taylor close in a couple of special exhibition matches.
She's scared him, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got gears, and I think she's young enough, unlike the others that have been around a while. I think she can evolve.
Scary times for them.
Beau Greaves, another one. I mean,
I think
16 years of
a little
age.
bit time to
Yeah,
develop,
they're mature.
But will do without any.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, unbelievable. Just looking ahead to everything, where do you see us in a month, 2 months' time? Do you think we will be on the right road to have fans back in? And
I would hope so. I'm fairly certain it's going to be limited. I don't know if you know, we don't get told anything before anybody else, but Butlins is open at the moment, so I'm fairly hopeful we'll have some sort of crowd. I don't know what kind of capacity they will allow in.
Is that the acid test, that if there's no fans at Butlins and the world is doomed?
Yeah, it's only it's less than a month.
Yeah.
Less than a month before, isn't it? It's only a few weeks before it, and that would be tragic. But I'm sure. Listen, PDC don't leave no stone unturned. Matt Porter, Dave Allen, Barry, Eddie. Of course, he's although predominantly we think about him at boxing. Of course, he's involved in a lot of aspects. They will already be. You know what they're like. They have everything in place before anything could possibly be announced. And I'm sure. I mean, the country needs to move on. You know, for a virus that has such a massive, survival rate. I think they flapped early, and they were like sheep. And I think now it's like a lie. If you tell a little one, it turns into a monster, and this has turned into a monster. And I don't think the numbers add up. Well, they don't add up to a pandemic. The numbers are not big enough to have the government spending £1 billion a day. That's what it's costing, and ultimately it's going to cost us down the road and our kids. It's life changing for a lot of people, and I'm devastated for those that have, people who've lost lives. But at what expense do we then continue to close the country down? Not only sport. I mean, sport's fairly irrelevant in the bigger picture. How about people now that have been furloughed and October they've got no jobs to go back to? Our unemployment rate's going to. We are in serious financial trouble, but because people are furloughed, they don't see it there at the moment. But it's going to be a very, very tough Christmas for everybody.
Last one. A lot of noise on social media at the moment about the seniors tour back again. Is it something that you'd like to see, and do you think there's enough call for it?
Yeah, it's something I haven't picked up a dart for around about 5 months. And that's God telling me what he thinks of me.
That's telling you not to come out for another 5 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think we know. Look, we've got Barney, we've got Taylor, we've got Martin Adams. You've got players like Andy Jenkins. I'd certainly want to get involved. You got so many great players. Colin Lloyd, Keith Deller. I'm pretty sure John Lowe could still play to a certain level. Bob Anderson can still play at a high level, and I think it'd be great. I think not something to be taken too seriously, but for the fans and for us old boys, it'd be a blast. As long as Phil's not playing, of course. I'm not having him.
Barge, yeah.
Yeah, he's not playing. He can still hit 110 averages. He's not getting involved. Not having that.
Mate, absolute pleasure. We know fishing's about to start.
Good luck with online darts as well, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers, dude.